Today I'm reviewing a perfume that's been in my top 10 perfumes for over 5 years. This is Camel from the House of Zoologist. Many of you know what Zoologist is, but for those who don't know, I will briefly explain it. Zoologist is a niche perfume house from Canada. Each other perfumes represents a separate animal, and each perfume tries to replicate that animal's lifestyle, habitat, and the perfumers try to capture the idea of that animal. This is my favorite from the House of Zoologist. This is Camel, although I love many other perfumes, and in the future I hope to own all of them. Before I get into the notes, I'll show you the presentation of the old packaging. It slides out like this. There's information on the front, the back, and the sides, which I will read you a little bit of. You're then given this high quality hard black box. It has Zoologist on the front, and it opens up, and your perfume will be sitting in the middle. In terms of bottles, the old Zoologist perfume bottles are one of my favorites of all time. I think their newer ones are very beautiful too, but I love the leather on the cap, the engravings, and just the odd shape of the bottles. When it comes to the bottles, the Z for Zoologist is engraved on the top of the cap. The cap is very heavy and leathery. It slides on very satisfyingly. And of course, that beautiful artwork that all Zoologist perfumes have are right in the middle. All of their perfumes come in extrait de parfum concentration. I'll show you how the sprayer works, and I'll give myself a few sprays. They have a beautiful pressurized atomizer, and being in extrait de parfum, it's very oily, and you can see that oil accumulating on my hand. Before I get into how Camel smells to me, I'm going to read the small blurb that they provide on the back of the box. On a trek through an unforgiving desert, starting point and destination are indistinguishable from each other. Terracotta-hued dunes twist and writhe, their shapes ever shifting. Only the merciless sun and aloof constellations can be trusted to point the way. Weighted down by treasures, some tempting the eyes with their glittering sheen, others enticing the taste buds with exotic aromas, the camel plods toward a far-off marketplace. Water is but a dream for now, the taste of sweet dates a distant memory. There is nothing but an endless ocean of sand. And then it keeps going and becomes a little bit less poetic, and it says, in Zoologist Camel, beautiful aromas of rose and jasmine-infused succulent dried fruits are joined along the way by an alluring blend of incense, myrrh, amber, and cinnamon. Soon met by animalic musks and authentic oud, they surround you in a rich tapestry. This sensual caravan of fragrance carries you away to accompany the camel on its long, lonely journey across the ageless desert. So yeah, a lot of these Zoologist verbs are very dramatic and poetic, but I love that about them, and that's kind of the whole charm of their brand. The top notes in Zoologist Camel includes dried fruits, frankincense, palm date, and rose. Up front on skin, you're definitely getting hit with a lot of date, a lot of cinnamon, a lot of rose, a lot of dried fruits, but the most prominent thing is this very animalic, musky oud note. I've been to the Middle East many times, and unfortunately I've smelled how camels smell in real life. They are funky smelling creatures, and the animalics in Camel actually do remind me of the smell of real camels. Now obviously, this is much more refined, it's beautiful, all the notes are blended gorgeously, but there is this extremely noticeable animalic amber that is very hard to palate for some people. In the heart notes, it contains amber, cedar, cinnamon, jasmine, myrrh, and orange blossom. Of course, camels live in the Middle East, and myrrh is a very popular note used in the Middle East. There is a lot of myrrh in here. It's very dry, it's resinous, it's a little bit smoky, but it's not overbearing. The animalicness, the dried fruits, and the cinnamon are definitely the most prominent things within the first 30 minutes of this perfume. The base notes include civet, musk, authentic oud, sandalwood, tonka bean, vanilla, and vetiver. The base notes are blended so beautifully that they're actually kind of hard to detect. When I really dig my nose and my wrist, I do get a little bit of sandalwood, I get a little bit of vetiver, but besides that, the only thing really sticking out to me is the civet. The civet in here is of course animalic. It has a little bit of a pea-like quality, but it's very subtle. Funnily enough, I think that the animalics are coming from the myrrh rather than the oud or the civet. To my nose, that myrrh is giving it this very dense and Middle Eastern funk. Zoologist Camel is one of the perfumes that got me into perfumery. I first smelled this in I think 2014 or 2016, and I was very young and I wasn't really into perfume at the time. But when I first got into perfumery, Camel was always on my list to get a full bottle. The thing that impressed me so much with this perfume is that although it's incredibly animalic and challenging, the notes are blended so beautifully that they all lift each other up. By its DNA and character, this is an incredibly dense perfume, but somehow it wears light and airy. Of course, up close you're hit with a boatload of Middle Eastern spices, animalics, dried fruits, myrrh, musks, oud. This is everything Middle Eastern that you can think of in perfumery. But in the air, this is sweet, slightly jammy, a little bit incensey, and extremely ambery. Now, these two perfumes don't smell alike, but if you're familiar with Diaghilev by the House of Raja Parfums, Camel and Diaghilev both have a very interesting combination of animalic musk and amber. If Diaghilev is something you like, I think Camel would be a great perfume to check out. Camel is a blend that has everything I've ever wanted in a perfume. In my opinion, this is the perfect combination of sweet, animalic, spicy, and smooth. Because it wears very light and airy in the air, I actually think this is relatively wearable. However, if you know you're going to be close to people, then I would avoid this because up close the animalics are very funky on the skin. I've smelled probably 75% of the Zoologist catalog, so I will definitely make videos and reviews later in the future. But for now, the 2 bottles that I definitely will get soon include Zoologist Squid, which is a gorgeous salty aquatic perfume, and Zoologist Civet, which actually has some similar animalic and amberiness as Camel, but goes a very different way. Thank you for watching. I couldn't even talk too much about this perfume because every time I smell it, I'm at a loss for words. Zoologist Camel will probably always be in my top 5 perfumes ever. I promise you it's not just a nostalgic thing, the blend is really that beautiful. So please, if you haven't already, check out Zoologist Camel.